What do I do with your comics when you die?
What's going on, collectors? This is Uncanny Derek, and just next to me is Mrs. Uncanny Derek.
Hello.
And I asked her to come up with some questions about my comic book collecting hobby, not habit, hobby.
No, I said problem.
Problem. I haven't heard any of these questions before, so we're just going to dive right into them. Just before we do, of course, if you like what you see, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe down below. So, without further ado, Mrs. Uncanny Derek, let's hear the first question.
Okay, first question up. What do I do with your comics when you die?
What do you do with comics when I die? So, I mean, there's so morbid right off the bat. So, I guess, like, you're gonna get them. I've talked about the CLZ comic book collecting app, so you can find out about all the values, and I have the app, I don't know if you're talking to you or the camera. I have the app so that you can see what the values of the books are, but more or less, I will probably, after this video is done, tell you of a few people that you can entrust my collection with to help either sell them off, or of course you can keep it and, you know, let it grow in value, so to speak. That's what you do when I die.
That was kind of a two-parter. My follow-up to that is if you have any specifically you want set aside for your children. Before I sell the rest of the collection.
Oh, that hurts to hear. I mean, not really. Like, I'll be dead, right? So, I mean, I'm not too concerned. Like, I would say the X-Men #1, because, like, having a child growing up with that kind of clout, to be like, I have this comic book, even though most of the other children won't give a damn, I would say, you know, hold on to X-Men. For dear old dad. For dad's sake. Yeah. Right? That's the right answer, right?
Would you want them sold together, or would you want to see them divvied up?
So that's a bigger question, because technically the X-Men, especially if I complete it before I die, so don't kill me anytime soon, is that it sells, it's more valuable as a full collection. Okay. There are going to be some books that are better and more valuable individually, but for the most part, it's entirely circumstantial. So again, when after this video is done, we will have a conversation of who I can entrust you with these types of decisions, because those are all right, next.
That's only question one. I've got
That's
10
question one.
Next question. So outside of yard sales, if I wanted to buy you a comic book, how would I go about doing it?
Outside of yard sales. So, I mean, obviously you can go to and support your local comic book shop, your LCS. But auctions are always a great place, either online or, you know, going to an auction. Flea markets, of course, are the best. But the issue is that flea markets don't usually price things honestly. So, if you're ever going to buy me a comic book, I would hesitate to, if it seems to be an expensive book and go, oh, Derek doesn't have this, I would like to buy that for him. I honestly would check with me first, or if after this video is done and I tell you who you can trust to ask those questions, you should check with somebody first, because flea markets are notorious, at least the ones that are in our area here, are notorious for charging a lot more than what the books are worth. And I mean a lot more than what the books are worth. Long story short, don't buy me comic books.
Okay, well, if I decide not to listen to that and I try to go ahead and do it anyways without your help, would you have any tips for how to prevent me from being scammed as, first of all, female, and as a non-comic book collector? Would you have any, like, keywords or anything I would drop to kind of make it sound like I do know what I'm talking about?
Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, because I do have a video, if you haven't seen it, about comic book collecting tips, but for the most part, you need to know some research beforehand. And, you know, let's just say there is a copy of Tales of Suspense number 49 there, and somebody's asking, you know, $500 for that book, but the page is tattered up and torn. You know, at face value, an old comic book is worth something. But then you have to get into the grading system and to discuss what a grading is and to teach somebody, a purchaser, what the grading is, and then also try to have that debate with the seller is, a little complicated. But then it's also, why is this book expensive? And there are some reasons, and there are some reasons why they shouldn't be expensive. I did just my video recently about Fan Expo Canada. That comic book had I showed in that video issue of Spawn #1. It was the rare newsstand variant that they were charging $650 for. As I also showed in that video, that book's only a couple $100. So that type, like, even with the knowledge of, I know how books should be graded, I know the difference of newsstand versus direct variants, to know that inherently, to have that discussion with a dealer, it's tough. Especially when a lot of these dealers, they are in it just to scam, or they're in it because they overpaid for the collection. They're trying to still make money back from what they screwed up themselves on, or they're just trying not to sell their collection, and they're just trying to jack the prices up to get the sucker to buy it. So there's a lot of factors involved, and to have, unfortunately, I don't have a good answer for you. I'm sorry. You just have to go shopping with me. You just have to let me buy my own comic books.
If you could go back and unmeet Stan Lee, would you?
No. And I'm actually going to be doing a video about the comic book celebrities I've met soon. And I don't think I would ever unmeet him. And the reason being is that my meeting of Stan Lee, and I'm going to go heavily into this in that video, he was my ultimate celebrity. And once I met him, like, the gloves were off. It was like, oh, he's just a regular guy, and I don't care anymore about celebrities, so to speak. That my whole world of celebrity culture was shattered in a way, in a good way. But the idea that I had to meet people and to get all hyped up over meeting celebrities, I kind of lost that after I met Stan. He was my big one. To be frank, it saved me money because I don't care about getting celebrity signatures or meeting up with other celebrities. It's it's cool to chat with them, but I've grew a huge amount of confidence after meeting him and shaking his hand and chatting with him. And it's just celebrities are normal people too. So I think that the first meeting of Stan Lee there in this photo, that was the catalyst for me to be, they're just people. And I don't want to ever change that feeling.
Would the rumored Taylor Swift as Dazzler bring the right or wrong attention to the MCU?
Oh, interesting. So, we should preface this, that you have never seen any Marvel movie at all, really, or any superhero movie for that matter, and we did watch Deadpool and Wolverine. And I don't know if you know that Dazzler or Taylor Swift was reported to be cameoed in that movie, which is, it shot up the first appearance of Dazzler, X-Men number 130, up in price, and Dazzler number 1, all these books went up in price. It's a good thing for the hobby in the sense that sellers who want to unload these books can now sell it at a higher price than what it should be, because the comic book collecting hobby is a speculative market. As I said in previous videos, any of these comics, you take Action Comics number 1, 100 years from now, it's still going to be worth the $6 million it's worth right now, because comic books are going to be kind of a thing of the past, maybe. And for things with a speculative market, with things like Dazzler and Taylor Swift, people capitalized on that. And people lost money, and people got a lot of money from it. So that's always part of the hobby, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing because it gets people interested in comic books, and somebody getting into comic book collecting, whether it is because of speculative things like Taylor Swift, or just because they're now, who's the Dazzler? Let me find out about Dazzler and find out about X-Men. I think that's a great thing, and it gets more people interested in the whole medium, and the whole idea, 10 years ago, the comic book industry is supposed to be dying. It's still going strong, and the hobby's still going strong, and I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. But yeah, I think it's a good thing.
So you wouldn't mind going to the theater and being surrounded by a bunch of Swifties that are there for the wrong reason?
No, not at all. I want to go to a Taylor Swift concert. I think it would be very interesting to see.
I didn't know if it would bring the same argument as, the newly found interest a lot of females have in football since her relationship with Travis Kelce.
I mean, I'm sure there's some people that think that way, but that's a level of gatekeeping that is just ridiculous. And no, I don't have any problem with people getting into things because they want to get into them for whatever reason it is. As long as you're a fan of it and you enjoy it and you're not doing it because you're trying to fit in, you just enjoy it, then by all means have all the power to do so. There's no gatekeeping here.
Well, I feel like I would fall into that category as someone who has no idea who Dazzler is, but I know who Taylor Swift is. It would make me slightly more interested in it than I would have been previously.
Sure.
I might check it out. I might show up to the theater in like a bedazzled one, you know. I was gonna say onesie, but no. I was gonna say
Their first appearance.
leotard. No, I've been baby brain. I'm like, it's not a onesie. What do adults wear? The adult version of a onesie.
A twosie.
Which X-Men deserves the next feature-length movie?
I mean, Wolverine's been done. Obviously, Deadpool's been done. I would say that if there's anybody who needs to have a solo movie, is that what you're saying? Like a solo film? That would do it successfully? I would say Gambit likely would be the one that would be successful with, we saw in the Deadpool Wolverine film, he was in there. They've been trying to make that movie for at least a decade, and it never came to fruition. And so that was why that cameo happened in that film. But I personally, I don't care for that. I guess what I would love to see for a solo X-Men movie would be Multiple Man X Factor based off of Peter David's X Factor run. I think that having Multiple Man, and it would eventually, you'd have to pull in some other mutants in there, because I don't think Multiple Man could hold it on his own, so to speak, and despite his duplicates, he couldn't hold it on his own. I think Multiple Man, X Factor, detective story like that, or even if Bishop or something like that would be a pretty cool solo film. Just some sort of detective version. Banshee would be great too. Anyway.
What storyline has changed in impact for you since having a child?
What storyline has impacted my life? Having a child. I would say there was that X Factor story, a Peter David X Factor story, where Multiple Man and Siren had a child. And I will just leave it at that if you haven't read it. If you know, you know. Seeing that now, as I did reread that after I had a child, that hits a lot harder than one would think. And I do feel also it wasn't the fallout to it wasn't as strong as what it could have been with Siren's take on the matter. But that one definitely hits the hardest, 100% without question.
When is the first appearance of Gambit? So I don't actually know what answer I'm expecting, but this is apparently controversial according to the internet.
This is X-Men Annual number 14. And this is Uncanny X-Men number 266. The first appearance of Gambit goes credited to 266 because canonically, this is his first appearance. However, due to publishing issues, X-Men Annual number 14 was released first by a couple weeks. Gambit is not in here as a cameo. He has lines, he shows up in it, and so technically this is his first appearance. But much like many other books, like X-Men number 12, where it's the first Juggernaut because it's a cooler cover, Hulk number 181 because Wolverine's on the cover, this book gets regularly credited as Gambit's first appearance. And arguably, I would say this is the case because it is his first appearance in canon. But because of the publishing issues, this one here came out first, and contextually it doesn't make sense because who's Gambit? So technically this is his first appearance, but technically this is as well. So where would I stand on this? So I am always of the take that the first appearance is the first appearance. So Hulk 180 is the first appearance of Wolverine. Deal with it. If that's the case, then X-Men number 13 is the first appearance of Juggernaut, and you can't argue with me on that, because Juggernaut appears on the cameo. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. This here, canonically, means... I don't know. Is really... Because I would say it is this guy here, because this makes the most sense within the storyline that this
by
is.
definition, when you say first appearance...
By definition, this is his first appearance. He first appeared in this book publicly to the world. Mm-hmm. But, story-wise, this is how he should have first appeared.
Yeah.
So,
What happens when you complete your run of the Uncanny X-Men? Do you win? Do you get a trophy? Like,
No, I get internet clout, maybe, if that counts for anything. No, the plan is once I do complete my run of Uncanny X-Men, I will upgrade the books. So I will slowly pick apart the ones that are low grade and just slowly upgrade them over time. Of course, I'm not done collecting. I don't just collect Uncanny X-Men. So I will continue to collect. But the burden, so to speak, of needing to collect it will be relieved from my shoulders. So I'll keep collecting Uncanny X-Men, but just be looking for better and upgrade the books and sell off the poorer quality books as they come along.
okay, I guess this technically is the last question, but it's a lightning round. So what I'm hoping is to just get a straight up answer from you with no explanation.
Should I have a shot of something? Like, this is just tea, by the way.
It's not necessary, but...
Topical mug, by the way.
Do you want to show them my mug?
Let's go, lightning round.
Okay. Best issue.
Best issue of Uncanny X-Men. Oh, man. I will have to say that it will be issue 394. And I'm going to say that solely because that is what got me into Uncanny X-Men. It was Joe Casey's second book on the series. And without that book and it being a four-parter, Poptopia, about Chamber and him actually falling in love with a pop star who was kind of using him in his mutant power as... she was using him for the celebrity status and made Chamber, who is a mutant, he doesn't have a chin, he just has fire coming out of his chest. It's a weird... X-Men's interesting. But he always felt ashamed of who he was, and this pop star was using him, but he was too blinded by the fame and by somebody being interested in him to see what was actually going on. And then she was also being used by her public... Like, it was a whole thing where, like, the publicist was using her to... obviously exploit her, and she was exploiting the mutant, and it was just a whole story of exploitation. And then that was the A story. The B story was because they were in England for that. The X-Men were also they found like these British Morlocks, and there was a guy named villain named Mr. Clean who was actually going around and killing all these mutants, and it was Nightcrawler, Iceman, Wolverine. The three of them were trying to hunt down Mr. Clean, who was killing all these Morlocks, and also trying to find Chamber because they realized that he was getting thrown into the spotlight and he was in over his head because Generation X just ended. Anyway, the Poptopia run is... I assume you didn't just want me to give you a one-word issue. And
No,
like, why is that?
We're going to need a refresher on what lightning round means. Are you done?
I'll hold my mug up again.
Okay.
Maybe I'll...
Okay.
I will not go any further on these lightning round questions. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. Okay, worst retcon.
Worst retcon. This is up for debate for sure, but the retcon I dislike the most... Yeah, I'm going to say Moira McTaggart and Moira X, with a close second being Azazel in the Draco.
Romantic couple that didn't need to be.
Speaking of the Draco, you guys know what it is. Husk and Angel, because what the hell were you doing, Chuck Austin? They had sex in front of his mom, or in front of her mom, in the sky. She was also a kid. It really didn't make any sense.
Best cover art.
Best cover art. Uncanny X-Men 142, which is the Sentinel blowing away Wolverine there. I would say, yeah.
Okay.
And number 98, because it's part of this channel, you know?
Okay. And last up, Bang, Marry, Kill. Mystique, Storm, and Rogue.
Bang, marry, kill.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who are you banging? Who are you marrying? Who are you killing?
Well, I'm killing Mystique because even though she could shapeshift into literally any person or woman, I'm sorry, I'm like, hey, Mystique, turn into my wife. No, I'm still not gonna sleep with you. So I would have to kill Mystique because she's gonna kill me at some point because it's just Mystique. That's just the nature of things. Marry, it's gonna be Storm because it's Storm. And I'm going to bang Rogue because, like, come on, of course.
Thought we'd end on a really awkward note. It started awkward, it ends awkward. I'm out of questions, that's it.
And you're dressed up as Rogue right now, aren't you? Well, those are some interesting questions, weren't they? Thank you very much, Mrs. Uncanny Derek, for your questions, and I thought they were pretty good, actually. I was a little concerned. I wasn't sure what we were going to be getting myself into, and yeah, they actually were very thought out, thoughtful questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you for appreciating that.
So if you guys like this type of content, if you had any questions or want to leave some comments, just leave it down below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.